Hi, my name is Salman Ahmed, and I'm a student of MSc Cybersecurity, and this is my video presentation for my Practicum 2, or you can call it a thesis. So, the topic of my thesis was implementation of advanced encryption techniques to protect sensitive financial data from cyber threats. So, as we all know that financial data is very much sensitive in current times. Like all data is very sensitive, but sensitive to secure financial data, and particularly we are focusing on encryption techniques like cryptographic techniques to protect financial data from cyber threats. So this was my topic. So on to the next slide. So I'll be explaining my the project in different steps. So table of contents in this research are like the abstract, which provides the overall summary of the research that is conducted. The second is the introduction, which covers the initial context related to the research topic. The third is the literature review, covers the related work based on the topic selected. Fourth is the methodology, provides the detailed view of design and methodology of the research. Result and analysis, that interprets the result and analysis that we got during the research. And last is the discussion and conclusions, like we will conclude and mention the limitations along with the future consideration regarding these research. So, so this research mainly focused to analyze and examine the effectiveness of advanced encryption techniques, mainly cryptographic techniques, in protecting the sensitive financial data from cyber threats, that do within remaining the accounting and banking practices. And so this research also provides a technical aspect of cryptographic and encryption techniques using matrix analysis, and concentrating on substitution ciphers, including Hill cipher. The same analysis is also identifies additional important results. First, the use of cryptographic techniques increases the perceived level of security, namely, this is the value of 10. So the value, these are the beta value and the p value. So the beta value is a coefficient value, and the p value is the significance of value. So both these define the, so if the value is above 0.5, so that means that the independent and dependent variables are, the relation between them is not very strong. But here, as we can see, that the values of both of these is below 0.5, so that means it is very strong relation, and that means the data is very well protected. Second, the regulatory compliance is positively impacted by the variables like encryption that have a similar effect size. So this was all the abstract of my uh, project. So on to the next slide. So this is an introduction. So the significance of cyber protection within the financial sector cannot be understated in the current dynamic digitalization financial ecosystem, particularly in the financial industry, where safeguarding or protecting sensitive financial data is crucial, and encryption is an essential part of cybersecurity to implement the protection. So, one of the main concerns surrounding the transition of digital financial services in is the possibility of financial data breaches. Such breaches may have serious repercussions, including identity theft, monetary loss, a decline in consumer trust, and legal cases. So, this is the introduction. Now we'll go to the next slide. Research question. The underlying research question investigates and makes a hypothesis in order to identify pertinent solutions for safeguarding sensitive financial data from cyber threat. This research is based on the following question: how does the implementation of advanced encryption techniques protect sensitive financial data from cyber threats? So that's the main research question that we have used and did the research on. So it is a worthwhile, feasible, and understanding research topic to analyze and examine how sophisticated encryption methods protect sensitive financial information from online attacks covering cyber attempts. Sure. On to the next slide. So, literature review. So, around 40 research papers review were conducted to execute this research. Few of them are listed below. So, I conducted a thorough research regarding the literature review of this research question, and I got a lot of research papers and literature review that I found on the internet, and so I've listed some of the research papers here in the video, and now I'll go to the next slide. So what were the study objectives? There were two objectives. So objective number one was the current state assessment of financial sector from cybersecurity purposes and cryptographic techniques implementation. So we have had to make our objectives. So first objective we made that what is the current state of financial sector regarding these cryptographic technique implementations for the financial data and all that stuff. And the second was to gauge the effectiveness of encryption techniques on these data. So these were the two study objectives that we had in mind and that we move forward on. So next slide. So methodology design data. So this study employs the metric representation to model cryptographic processes which where each element corresponds to a specific algorithm operation. The equation used was C is equals to EK 1 bracket P. So where C was the ciphertext, P was the plain text, and EK was the encryption function. Also, we used a structural equation modeling, shortly called the SEM, has been used for the research. It is a statistical techniques used to examine and analyze the connection between different variables involved in a research data set. Our study also utilizes the combination of secondary and observational data to examine the cryptographic techniques, efficiency, and the effectiveness in protecting their effectiveness in protecting the sensitive financial data. So, next slide. So, that research variables. So, the variables that we used was independent and dependent variables. The independent variables include the scale of implementation of encryption technique, the type of cryptographic techniques used, covering symmetric versus asymmetric encryption, and the training level or knowledge transfer you provided to each end user. Because if the end user doesn't have the knowledge of these encryption techniques and it gets a little difficult, so it won't be as useful as it should be. And secondly, the dependent variables. The dependent variables include the factors which are impacted as a result of cryptographic solution implementation and user satisfaction, perceived level of security of the technique, and the impact on the productivity of the system workflow. Models are also required to be developed under SEM analysis to describe the variables relationship between them. For example, one of the model and user satisfaction is equals to scale of implementation, perceived level of security, and training level as well. So on to the next slide. So result analysis. The study covers the use of metric analysis to examine the efficiency of cryptographic methods. The study mainly emphasized on Hill cipher, which proves to be the more effective in protecting the financial data within financial system from cyber attacks and threats. So that the study and the literature review and all the stuff that we conducted during our research uh, identifies that the Hill cipher, which proves to be more effective in protecting sensitive financial data within the cyber attacks and threats. Although Hill cipher is more complex and advanced and sophisticated over substitution ciphers, considering that it provides more relevant and adequate example of cryptography matrix operations. So on to the next slide. So predictor impact analysis. So these are the variables that we took into consideration, and independent variables and dependent variables, and these are the path of coefficient p-value indicates the significant of the how strong the relationship between the independent variable and dependent variables is, and if the value of this is below 0.05, so that indicates that there is a very strong relation between these two variables. So if we take into consideration like the first one, the type of cryptographic technique and perceived level of security, and you see the path of coefficient and the p-value both are under 0.05, so that indicates a strong relationship between them. So that means if we use cryptographic techniques on sensitive financial data to protect them, so that will impact a very high perceived level of security that we will get, and also the other independent variables and dependent variables. And also I'll tell you that If independent variable is negatively affected, the dependent variable will decrease, and if the independent variable is positively impacted, the dependent variable will also increase. So on to the next slide. So the discussion and conclusions. So the paper thoroughly reviewed and examined cryptographic techniques for enhancing financial systems cyber defense using SAM and metric analysis. New researches avenues on the potential incorporation of emerging encryption techniques, including quantum cryptography in the financial sector, are clarified by this study. The conclusion is that the result of the research highlights the significant influence these methods have on financial operations, strengthening data security, supporting regulatory compliance, and building stakeholder trust. The study also highlights some of the challenges associated with implementing these strategies. Among these are the necessity of adequate training, a solid technological base, and delicate balance between ensuring effectiveness and the use while maintaining a high degree of security. So this was my video presentation. I hope I tried to do my best, and hopefully I succeed. Thank you.